Okay. Hey, welcome to week 2 of the Siege Report. I'm your co-host, NukemDukem. We heard your feedback, and we're going to do the Siege Report on both IcyCat and my channel each week. And I'm going to go ahead and shove it over to our co-host, IcyCat.
Hey guys, so we are going to be trying to cover some topics that are happening in Siege this week, and we're going to be going over that with our next guest. You probably know him if you are around YouTube. It is the Russian Badger, who is neither Russian nor a badger, but a very, very funny guy. I've had a chance to watch a lot of his videos, and they're just a riot. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm insanely excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So where do you get like all of your ideas for your videos? Is it just like your friends messing around and you happen to record the best moments, or you have like some process?
Yeah, so if you're not familiar, my channel is not just recording gameplay and then uploading it. There's a whole lot of editing and backstory that goes into it. But if I can make it as clear as possible, it's extremely hard for me to make a single video. Like, I calculated it recently, ignoring any kind of content capture. So ignoring, like, playing the game with friends itself, it takes me about 2 hours of arranging and editing and preparation for each minute of video. So, like, if I made a 15-minute video, I put at least, like, 30 hours of just painstaking editing and organizing and filtering. So it takes me a while, but I like to think that each video is a very polished product that is only fun and enjoyable once you actually finish it. So it's a little bit unique, but I'm really proud of everything that I create, definitely.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, it's edited so well. Like people watch other content channels that does similar things to you. They don't know how much work and edit it goes, like recording yourself on camera, saying a funny joke, and having that gameplay of it.
It's a lot.
So they're like, why can't we get one like a couple times a week? Why is it like once every other week with that?
I mean, I guess when it comes to like some of the jokes or like some of the quips, like some of those things come so naturally just because a lot of it comes from my Discord. So my Discord right now has about, these aren't like bragging numbers, but like there's about 25,000 of my fans that are in my Discord, and at any one point in time there's like between 4,000 and 5,000 of them, and they're constantly making jokes about the game. So some of it's personally from me internally, but a lot of it's from them, just like the silly stuff that they play or they say about the game. So I guess it's both myself and them together, but it's very strange. Like the whole process, I almost couldn't even describe it to you because it's so strange and weird, and it's kind of just bashing your head against the wall until something renders.
Very cool. Well, before we move into some of the topics regarding what's been kind of happening in Siege in the last week and what you think about them, I just want to ask real quick, there's so many different kinds of content creators out there. Like, for instance, I'm news and information. Other people, like we had Serenity on last week, he's completely centered around like amazing gameplay skill. And your thing is obviously having these like really complicated, awesome edits with just, I mean, humor is like your thing, and a great, very charismatic delivery. What kind of, I mean, was that just like a natural fit for you, or did you have to figure out like what you were going to put out there, how you're going to package yourself?
I think, well, the first thing that I always like to focus on is just being different. So if you want to think about like, even in the Rainbow Six Siege community, there's someone for everyone. So like, I know like IcyCat, I've watched you for the longest time, even though you probably don't even know that. If I need to know exactly what an operator's like, how they work, how to use them without any kind of like, I almost like waste your time if you're wanting to understand how an operator works, you can go directly to IcyCat. It's very much, he tells you exactly what you need to know to get started, then you can go play. If you want to watch like Matimio or Macy J or Serenity, that's like professional level, or at least semi-professional level. I'm not specifically familiar with all the ranks and everything else, but they're extremely good at the game. Like that's what makes them different, and that's what makes you go to them as opposed to other people. They're just so insanely good at one-tapping people and being creative and being crafty. Like I think that's really what differentiates them. But then for me, I think it's taking a unique sort of humorous view on all of the operators and exactly how the game works. Now, half of that is just purely the guys in my Discord that spew some of the biggest nonsense that you will ever hear that I find hilarious. And even though I think also to a lot of the community doesn't necessarily find all my videos hilarious, I think there's kind of a butting of heads between like competitive Rainbow Six and like the Rainbow Six that I play. But I like to think what differentiates me is discussion that is never boring. I try to make the videos I try to rid any kind of boredom, and I try to keep a certain pacing to them, but I think it's the most condensed it's almost like putting my brain into a video when it comes to that specific topic, which is usually an operator. So it's just like you're borrowing my brain for like 15 minutes about my perspective of the game.
Yeah, I need to hang out on your Discord. It seems like that's where all the party and the fun's at. What's unique about you? I think it's like you do like face cam and you make it funny while you're doing like being in the video yourself mixed with the gameplay, where like some similar other people just do a gameplay with hardcore editing like you do.
Right. But I think that's also part of a broader theme. Like I think gameplay commentary has kind of run its course when it comes to YouTube or when it comes to Twitch streaming. Like I think so much of gameplay commentary isn't a differentiator, or it really isn't a way to grow a channel at this point in time, just because if you guys remember like Modern Warfare 2, like 2009, if you had an HD capture card, you just got like mad amounts of subscribers and views because that was like a new different thing for you to have that. And then once the technology caught up, once everybody was doing gameplay commentary, of course it got kind of boring. Right. And then that's kind of like what Twitch is nowadays for a lot of people. Like it's really hard for people to stand out and to grow a channel or get any kind of real recognition, whether you're playing Rainbow Six Siege or not, without differentiating yourself in one way. So I just like to think of it as how I'm being different. It's just through editing and a different perspective. I think that's an easier way to think about it.
All right. Yeah, that's very unique. I love that part of Siege community of how like wide a spectrum it is. So there's some kind of hot topics that's coming out in Rainbow Six Siege, especially next week, is alpha packs are coming out, and we just had the launch patch of 2.2.1 today. Where it introduces alpha packs, but they're not active, and they're like, then Ubisoft has to like, oh wait, we need to clarify what we meant about alpha packs coming next week and what we mean by when it's coming out to console. Did you want to go in details of what the patch included, IcyCat?
Well, the patch wasn't very big at all. It's what we kind of call an iterative patch. So you would have your big title releases, which would be like 2.2.1, which gave us the one-step matchmaking, which was frankly a godsend in my opinion for getting into games again. And then we were supposed to get only one other title update, which was going to be 2.2.2, which would then give us the alpha packs. However, they felt that, well, basically what they said was that they realized that it would tie up enough of their resources that it might create a bit of a problem. So by doing in iteration in between those two patches, they were going to be able to address just a couple of little things. So the big parts on that are Hibana and her fixes for the way that her gadget's been working. We also had some balances for like that stupid window on Canal that they boarded up. And then they were also talking about one or two other small minor things, but the other big thing was, of course, the introduction of alpha packs. They kind of put it out there, but then said, we're enabling the functionality, but not yet, but not all the way till 2.2. It was really confusing. So that's kind of where we're sitting with the patch that came out a few days ago.
Oh, yeah. Just keep in mind, like, we're recording on Thursday, and tomorrow we're going to get more news about Alpha Pack on Friday.
That's right. So by the time you see this episode that's been put up on YouTube, we'll have already gotten the information that we're currently speculating on. We hope.
We hope.
Perfect.
Yeah. But also news that just came out on Reddit today was that they're inviting console players to actually participate in PC technical test servers. And they're going to send it out in waves. So that's funny. It's like, hey, you play console, now play PC and test out the game. Get used to playing on a different type of platform now.
Well, that's interesting, too, because when we first saw the rollout of Red Crow, if you remember and part of this is about Hibana, when she first came out on PS4 specifically, when people would use her gadget, it would crash the lobby. And that wasn't happening on Xbox. It was a platform-specific problem, where it's just like, oh, you use that gadget, forget it, your lobby is just destroyed now.
It also crashed during the tournament finals, too, when they were demoing Hibana. It's like, do not use her gadget, because Macy J used it, and it crashed the whole other team.
Anytime I see that, all I want to do is I just want to start live streaming, just scream the word, esports! And then that's just the end of the stream. Just like, esports ready, guys. Totally esports ready. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I don't know if you guys have been using Hibana with the fix. Is her propellant been good? I haven't been home yet.
I actually haven't had a lot of problems with her since they, I think in Velvet Shell they did a little bit of tweaking and she wasn't crashing games anymore, but her gadgets would still sometimes not work. Didn't happen to me a lot, but a lot of people say that it did, so I didn't see any big problems with her.
So they're saying loot packs are coming out for PC, or alpha packs coming out PC next week, right? Does that mean like they're gonna say consoles coming like a week later or a couple weeks later, and it says staggered release. Does that mean they're gonna go Xbox first or PS4 first or together at the same time?
Yeah, we're unsure about the staggered release portion. I'm really hoping that they keep parity between Xbox and PS4 for that, but we don't know. We do know for sure, though, that PC will be some day next week, tomorrow being Friday when we're recording this. We'll find out specifically, I hope, which day, but console could be a week or two. They did specifically say they're hoping it won't be too much longer than a couple of weeks, so...
Can you imagine if like they release it on one console before the other, the type of craziness that ensues? I think that would be a perfect video for you to make Russian.
But what I want to say about all of this, though, is like when it comes to all of Operation Health and all of these little nitpicks that we have, just know that in general, I know from my perspective, in general, I love the game so much. This would never really make a very severe impact, but it's kind of good for a video just to be like hashtag Operation Health when some kind of like rare bug happens. I think it's almost like YouTubers make it seem like a bigger issue than it really is. Just to stir the pot a little bit. That's the way that I think about it.
I just love how that's kind of become a meme now for like anything that's happened is like Operation Health.
And also like the idea of Operation Health is happening in phases. Not that Operation Health is perfect in any way, but it's happening in phases where they're implementing certain improvements gradually. Whereas people on the first day of Operation Health were like, Operation Health is not fixed, too bonus charts. Like, just give them time to really introduce Operation Health. Maybe if it's a meme next season or like into whenever the Hong Kong operators come out, maybe that's acceptable for you to say Operation Health. But for right now, just let them actually do the fixing before you start screaming at them.
I mean, we still have another month or maybe another a month and a half of Operation Health for them to get better servers and all that fixes, and hopefully that like once they go live with the alpha packs, it doesn't cause more bugs. But like you said, I love the game, and it's like those bugs are far in between of like what people do make it seem to be.
They're so minimal.
Yeah. But with that, did you want to move on to the season 3 possible rumor release?
Well, yeah, so what we have going on with that is that essentially if you check out the Rainbow Six ESL Pro League website, they will say on there that there's confirmation that they are going to be hosting the finals for the current season during Gamescom this year. And so we have the dates for Gamescom. You can check that out and see when that's going. And that's, what is that? I don't have it in front of me. What is that, like,
it's August. Yes, 22nd to 26th of Gamescom in the final, and then usually, that's when they introduce the new operators during the finals, and then like the following week, either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's when they deploy the new season patch, which would be August 29th to the 31st. If everything stays the same, that's what we could speculate on the new season arriving like the last week of August.
Yeah, so that's going to make a very long velvet shell, essentially, is what it's been. So
6 months velvet shell.
Yeah. So Matt,
can't wait.
As a content creator, how's the kind of drought of content affected you? Because I know different content creators can be pretty heavily affected by the lack of new stuff coming out.
Well, admittedly, over the past 3 days, I've been having a blast in Battlefield because that's something also that the audience should definitely know. Is I don't just play Rainbow Six Siege. I play a lot of, well, more or less first-person shooter and action games. But Rainbow Six Siege has kind of been my binge. And I didn't really, given my history of Rainbow Six Siege, I didn't really love it when the beta came out. I actually have kind of a notorious video now. It's called Wiggle Wiggle Operator. It has like over 1 million views now, much to my dismay. But I basically said Rainbow Six Siege was going to fail in the beta stage because I thought it was a really terrible beta. I actually said verbatim, or like, my quote is basically, it's going to be like Titanfall. It's going to be kind of fun during the beta, and then it's just going to fall off as soon as it's released. And I was just completely wrong, like completely wrong. And then back in January of this year, I released a video saying, I'm sorry, I was completely wrong. I apologized about it. And then I've been playing it nonstop for the past 6-7 months. So I think when it comes to content and operators, I got such a late start that there's so many operators that I haven't even played at length yet. There's really no drought for me. So I haven't even really covered all the operators that I want to. But I also have the luxury of just playing other games. Even though I think that when it comes to Rainbow Six, there's so many funny moments that I enjoy with other people. Like it caters so well to squad play. I don't think I'm ever going to run out of fuel for a fire, so to speak. So I don't notice that there's all that much of a drought, but at the same time, why not just say the words Operation No Refunds just to stir the pot a little bit to get people riled up, even though you still like what Ubisoft is doing. So I don't notice a drought at all, but also I have the luxury of playing other games and having my Discord to bail me out if I'm ever bored.
Well, also, like, I think for a comedic standpoint, you can always find some type of comedy thing versus, like, us, where we're just, like, relying on news or what's going on in the game. We're like, dude, I don't know what to talk about. But, yeah, back to, well, I actually loved the game during the beta. And then when the game first launched, I thought the game was gonna die, and I was like, "This is one of my favorite games of all time. It's gonna die," and it was dying until like Skull Rain and then the mid-season reinforcement came out, which kind of brought the game back to life, and like it's doing awesome now. Well, it's kind of a little dip with Operation Health, but yeah, I don't know what it's like for you, IC.
Well, you know, as somebody that's been involved with the game even before it was released, I've seen it go through a lot of different phases. And there was definitely those first few months were kind of like, oh, things aren't really working out very well. You know, there was a lot of glitches in the game, and I mean, matchmaking was disconnecting all the time, and there was just all kinds of problems. And some of the operators were just like, you know, I don't know, like the shields. There's the whole shield, you know, balancing problem and getting pulse just right, and so there's all these issues. But like you said, I think around Season 2, we started to see a little bit of a shift. The introduction of Valkyrie really was a fun shift in the way the game was
Blackbeard
played.
having a bulletproof.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, but that's more of the broken operator costume. Remember his 800 hit point shield.
Put a steel wall in front of his head. This game
and then
is based on
saran wrap it
headshots.
afterwards.
Yeah. But I think that with Skull Rain and Red Crow, they did a really good job kind of reinvigorating things. I feel like Velvet Shell was a mixed bag. I mean, like Mira was a great operator, right? But like for the first month, you could just go up to the window and melee it and break the window. And it's like, that's not supposed to happen. So it's been kind of an up and down ride.
Yeah. So what's your guys' thought on having a 3 operator that's coming out next season? Does that change the way you think of the game or the way you make content for things?
That is a lot, but just to make a quick comparison, after playing just think about like Battlefield 1 right now. DLC is really like dividing that community when it comes to Battlefield. Like basically premium versus non-premium. Not that it killed the entire player base, but there's like a really significant downtrend as far as the DLC that they've implemented and the way that they've done it with premium and the player counts. So I just want to say off the bat, Ubisoft, on the other hand, when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege, them making everything not behind a paywall, obviously there's benefits to the season pass, but just the idea that you get the map for free and that you get the operators with either renown or you can of course buy them. I'd like to just praise Ubisoft in the way that they're doing it right now. That's clearly helping the player base, not dividing the community, doing it somewhat like Overwatch, where all of the DLC or additional downloadable content that goes forward in the future is free. I think Ubisoft is doing a really great job with. I know that's kind of a weird comparison with Battlefield 1, but it's just the other game that I play most often. Right. Like to say, first off, Ubisoft is definitely they know what they're doing and that they're not hiding it behind a paywall. I think at least that the map's free and that the operators can be bought with renown. Great idea. But I think when it comes to like 3 operators at once, I just think that's going to be like a lot of content that's immediately thrown on YouTube. Obviously, like I said previously, it's a lot of fuel for the fire, but I'm excited to see how a meta changes with 3 operators instead of 2. I think Mira changed things up a little bit, and just to preface things, I don't know that much compared to like Serenity, who you had on last week, or like somebody that you're going to have in the future. I know nothing about like how game mechanics work or how strategy works on a broader scale when it comes to like diamond or professional play, but I just like how Mira changed things up, and any operators that can change up a meta from what it is currently, I think I'm really welcoming to.
Yeah. Going on your first point, you know, like back then, people, like the way companies did DLC or season pass back then was like, you can only play with other players who have this season pass, like Call of Duty did, and some other, and Ubisoft's like, no, that would divide player base. And they were smart too, like,
model.
Yeah, and they're just like, we're just going to have casual and ranked, and that's like the 2 styles, and like you should not have a player issue because you're only playing that. While in like the original Star Wars Battlefront 1, where it's like you had so many different modes, eventually modes started dying out.
Exactly, but the one thing I will say though is there's a method to that madness, because when you do view every EA game that's ever come out, the trend is like this. But EA's stock price for the longest time has been like this. So it kind of depends.
Dabbing?
I mean, no, but if EA's stock price has been on, I think a lot of people think that Activision does really well or Ubisoft does really well. When it comes to gaming companies in general, EA is clearly the most profitable, and they've had the greatest growth in their stock price over the past 5 to 7 years. So they've always gone like this in terms of their stock price, whereas their player counts and the games they release usually go in the opposite direction. So I think there's always something else to think about there. Even though building a community and keeping a vibrant player base is important, I think a lot of these corporations do have different motives. So I don't think the DLC is entirely to blame, but I think that should also be like a component of when you think about DLC, why a player base grows or dies because of new content too. Just to add that.
Let's just speculate here. So if we do get from what our speculation, we think that we're going to get the operators after Gamescom.
Okay.
Is it possible they could actually introduce the new season earlier during the Pro League, but have a separate build for them, or have a live build, but they just can't play new operators and new map during the tournament? Would that be feasible, that they could release a new operation earlier?
I think IceCat has to take that one. I'm not as skilled in like reading into the psychology of what they could do.
You're in-depth series, IceCat.
Well, it's something that I think is doable, but they've never done it. So if they did that, that would be a big break from everything that's come before. So I don't think it's likely, but I won't say it isn't possible either. It's a little rough that when it comes after the Gamescom event, we're looking at, like you said, between like the 28th and the 31st or something like that. So we are still technically within the month of August. And if you look at the timeline that was given to us by Ubisoft for content for the course of the year, that, the third season is supposed to take place in August. And I guess if you do land it on the last, 2 days of the month, you are still within August. But I think from the player base perspective, we've been stuck in Velvet Shell since January, so it's a little rougher for us to be like, oh, yeah, that's still technically the last day or two of the month, so that counts, right? I think if they did release it early and then give the tournament its own specific build, that the community as a whole would really like that, but I think that they're not going to do that because that would be too much of a change up from everything that's come before, so we might just have to be sort of stuck waiting until the end of the month before we get anything.
Right.
What I'm so excited to see though is, if I'm not mistaken, it is the 2 Hong Kong operators and then 1 Polish operator is included next, right?
Yeah.
And a map.
I just want to see how thematically that fits in. Like, you have Hong Kong, you probably have like some big skyscraper, or maybe the amusement park or the carnival, whatever.
Right.
And then there's just like 1 Polish operator that doesn't fit at all. It's like wearing the wrong colored camo and all. I just want to see thematically how they include that there will be an additional operator from Poland out of nowhere. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
so
it's like, hey, can I bring a friend?
So how do you feel about the fact that we are not getting a Polish map now because of everything that's happened?
As long as well, of course, Operation No Refunds, bombastic language, really hilarious. But I think as long as the Polish operator or operators, obviously we're going to get them one at a time, but as long as the Polish operator has something really creative and cool, I think all will be forgiven. I think with the current operation, to do Operation Health instead of the Hong Kong operation, the one-step matchmaking, I think, is really well implemented.
Yes, very much.
Of course, sometimes you need to requeue, but I think as of right now, we are being shown that things are definitely being improved. Still complaints about hit reg and Hibana's charges, of course, a lot of other stuff. But when it comes to the current changes done with Operation Health, like one-step matchmaking, I think they're generally pretty good. So I think already the community and the player base is seeing that this is having some benefit as opposed to rushing into Hong Kong. But as far as the Polish operator goes, I think if it's something creative and he's really fun, he or she's really fun, I think all will be forgiven, personally.
Yeah. I think once this new season release, we're going to forget about, well, majority of us will forget about, the tough, long period we had to wait before a new season. Like, everyone's just rejoicing and everything's going well. If it's something does break, we'll mention Operation Health. But, I think all will be forgiven once new content comes out for players to enjoy again.
Hopefully he is not just tacked on. Hopefully it's not just hardcore tactical Hong Kong operators and then just Pepsi Man, and then it's just like a Polish operator comes into the frame or something. Hopefully it's well integrated in a certain way.
Oh, they'll introduce a new recruit. Don't worry, with the Polish colors.
Oh, hell yeah. I would main him if that was the new thing.
Yeah.
I'd be like, move over, Hibana. Your stupid fidget spinners are outdated, and they probably work now, so I'm not going to use them. Just use a Polish recruit.
So as we talk about adding all these kinds of different new operators in, as you're saying, we're going to be getting 3 of them this time and then 3 of them in the 4th season, and what that will kind of bring about for changes to the meta of the game. I mean, we also heard a few months ago that Ubisoft's long-term strategy was to build it up to 50 operators or even 100 operators long-term, which I can't even imagine. That seems insane. What do you think about something like that?
From a business standpoint, or like a keeping the game alive standpoint, I think it makes perfect sense, because I think it shouldn't always be people are playing this game because there's new content. I think it should be players are playing this game because it has a core that is so much fun to play, and then they are continuing to play because of content. What I immediately think of is I think of League of Legends. It has a very core gameplay that I find really fun, and then new champions are just added and added and added. They don't need to have like a whole new theme, whole new maps. Like, picture releasing Battlefield 4 and then releasing Battlefield Hardline, or releasing Battlefield Hardline and then releasing Battlefield 1. I know I keep going to Battlefield when we should be talking about Rainbow Six, but I think it's a great strategy because you have a core game that people really love playing, and there's a certain replayability to it. I think in general, when it comes to Rainbow Six, the replayability comes from every map being different or every match being different, whether it's destruction or how the gadgets uniquely interact with one another. I think the core gameplay is so fun, so unique, and so replayable, you don't really need a new game. You just need to add operators that change up a meta, or at least just keep the game fresh with new content, and I think people will continue to play it. Much like Overwatch. Overwatch is very similar in that way. League of Legends and Overwatch. I think that's the way of the future, and I think, to me, I just applaud that sort of thing, because I already find the game really fun. Content will keep it fresh, but still, at the very bottom, the bedrock is a core gameplay that's extremely fun to play, and that has a certain replayability that I can't find virtually anywhere else.
Nail that.
But okay, if I can bring up my own topic, this is one that I wanted to discuss.
Go ahead.
With alpha packs. So this is the thing that I was kind of, admittedly, I was a little bit frustrated about. So when it comes to alpha packs, I know that the Black Ice skins were like a real point of contention. Like, a lot of people were angry about this. I like the idea of, if you were around during that time, you get that skin, then it's locked forever. Right. Like for example, you guys that played, was it Red Crow and a lot of the ones before that, if you guys were only in like Black Ice, if you guys were the only ones that were able to have those skins, basically showing, hey, I was here earlier and I played this operation right when it came out, I think that would be a lot better than having all skins available at all points in time. So another example would be, like the purple fade with Velvet Shell, that certain universal skin. I think that should be, you got that skin, you played Velvet Shell, and then it's locked after that operation ends, and then nobody else can access it, almost like you're carrying it around as a badge of honor. I think that's a cool way to deal with these skins. Almost like you have a trophy that nobody else can access if they didn't play that operation. So that's why I wasn't super happy about like Black Ice and previous universal skins from previous seasons being available in alpha packs.
Oh my god, I thought I was the only one.
That was my little like, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing this? You're making them not rare when they were amazing and legendary. That's
I agree.
That's something that I don't get.
Okay, you guys all agree? Okay, I got so much hate when I was doing alpha packs. It's like, why the hell is Black Ice skin in there? And they're like, Nukem's selfish. Nukem doesn't want anyone else has to. I was like, no, they told us no one's going to get this, so get it now during the very first season of Rainbow Six Siege. I was like, okay. And then now people's like, yeah, we can finally get it. It's like and I'm the dick for doing what Ubisoft told me that I should have done. And
well, the thing to remember with that, though, is that when you were doing those, that was part of the technical test server, and they said that the rarity tiers were not finalized, and that's not how they were going to be when alpha packs actually launch. So I'm pretty sure that opening 100 alpha packs will probably not net you a couple of Black Ice skins for sure. It's going to be way more rare. That was just sort of a testing phase and, a little bit of a different thing. But I definitely get a lot of people all the time commenting on it because that's one of my favorite skins. and I use
It's one of the best skins in the game.
Especially on
Yeah,
Buck,
definitely.
Buck or
Yeah.
Frost. Yeah, it's
That's all I roll with on those guys. And so I'll have them in my videos a lot because, you know, Icy Cat is going to use ice skins. I mean, that's just, you know, it makes sense. So when I get people asking, I was like, where'd you get this? I've been playing since Season 1. So like you say, it should be kind of this badge of honor. It's like, I was around playing the game at that time, you know, and because I supported the game for a year and a half now, I was playing back then, I've got that content, and yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be part of the reason why you choose to buy those specific universal skins during that season. I think even if you got hate for it, Nukem, even if it's like people hate you because you have a certain viewpoint, I still think it should be just like the white skin from Velvet Shell. I love the white with like the bull on it. Like that one I love. I love like the purple and black Fate. I think when it comes to those specific universal skins that are so neato every season, I know the Red Crow one is one that's frequently used. Like the burgundy one with the white birds on it, I find that one to be amazing. I still think there should be an incentive to buy that skin or to acquire that skin during that season, and you get to keep it as somewhat of a badge of honor that you were playing actively during that season. I think that's the way it is. Even if maybe that might be kind of a dick opinion to have, but that's the way that I feel about it.
Real quick, I know there's a shark back there and maybe a shark on your t-shirt. What's the meaning behind that?
Oh, this is just a joke. I actually got this. I got that shark on a date one time on Pier 39, which is like at an aquarium.
Okay,
and then I accidentally had it in the background of one of my videos. Somebody called it out and then asked me if I named it, and I named it Clarence for no reason other than people were constantly referencing it instead of referencing me, and then now he's just Clarence, and I put him
Clarence.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too meta, but yes, that's...
No, I like it. In fact, I got one more thing I want to show you. Are you a huge Iron Man fan? Because I see that painting.
Iron Man?
Yeah.
It was actually really goofy because I recently made an Injustice 2 video, and Injustice 2 is an amazing game, but that's DC while I had Iron Man in the background the entire time, so it didn't really make sense, but it was just something to cover up the wall that I eventually fell in love with. So yes, huge fan of Iron Man, even though Deadpool is probably my favorite superhero.
Okay. Let me show you something real quick, because it reminds me of myself. I'll be right back. All right. I'm going to have to geek out a little bit, because I saw that. I was like, okay, I'm not the only geek who has something, like a big painting in my room. I have a huge Superman one right here.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
Where'd you find... Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, I bought a painting at Comic-Con last year, so I just saw that. I was like, oh, I have to show that to you. But anyways, it was a huge pleasure to have you, Russian Badger. It was so much fun just to see that creative side content. So next week, we will be having new guests. If you guys are interested in anyone from the Siege community to be a part of our Siege Report, feel free to contact them and have them reach out to me. We might have cartoons or King George next, so stay tuned for more information on that. And toss it over to my co-host.
Yeah, so like we said before at the beginning of the show, we are going to be posting these videos on both of our channels. Originally, we were going to do it, you know, every other week on each other's channel, but we've decided to go ahead and just make that available for both of our audiences. So feel free to check that out on either of our channels. So that would be either NukemDukem or Icy Cat, depending on which one you're coming from. And real quick before we go, Badger, can you just let anybody know that isn't familiar with who you are, just where they might be able to find you? You're on YouTube and Facebook, Twitter.
I don't really use Facebook all that much. I know it's kind of like a trendy thing to do is to avoid the CPMs and the AdSense of YouTube to go over to Facebook, but I'm not... Well, I have a Facebook page, but if you want to get in touch with me or you want to view my content, you can just type in the Russian Badger on YouTube. I think that goes without saying. It's easy to find. Or on Twitter, I'm DA Russian Badger because they only allow 15 characters instead of 16. That's also the reason why I'm Russian Badger instead of the Russian Badger on Uplay, is because they only allow 15 characters while the Russian Badger is 16 characters, but you can Google it, you'll find me.
I thought it was something hip, like duh, like DA instead of duh. I was like, okay.
I do that on Twitter, yeah, duh. I'm duh Russian Badger.
All right, thank you so much. It's so much fun.
Oh, you're welcome.